Good morning and welcome to Holy Week in Real Time presented by Redemption Hill Church. These videos will come out each morning and chronicle the last week of Jesus' life on earth, leading to his death on the cross on Friday and his glorious resurrection, which we will celebrate this year on Easter Sunday, March 31st. Today is Monday of Holy Week. You can find today's events in Matthew chapter 21, verses 12 through 22, Mark 11, verses 12 through 19, and Luke 19, verses 45 through 48. On Monday, we see that Jesus does two things of note here. We see that first, he cleanses the temple, and second, he curses a fig tree. One of these events, the cursing of the fig tree, happens in passing as Jesus was headed in Jerusalem. Being hungry, encounters a fig tree with no fruit, only leaves. Jesus curses the tree, and at once it withers. But we'll talk more about that in just a minute. As Jesus nears the temple, it is important for us to look back, knowing what we know now, that Jesus is the perfect high priest, and that the temple should have been a place where the praise to God rings out. But here, Jesus finds the temple in an altogether different state. Instead of the chief priests and scribes preserving the temple as a holy place meant for praise unto God, they had turned it into a money and manipulation machine. This was Jesus' second time encountering these money changers in the temple. The first time he made a whip of cords and drove them out, but by now they had returned. These money changers would exchange foreign coins for the accepted Jewish money, but they did so at an extreme markup, taking advantage of those who came to Jerusalem to pay the temple tax. There was also those who sold sacrificial animals in the temple court. They would take advantage of people who came to make a sacrifice by either declaring the animal a person brought unapproved, forcing them to buy a more expensive animal from them, or by selling their approved animals at an inflated rate to those who came with no animal to sacrifice. Either way, this was unacceptable and forbidden under the Mosaic law. So Jesus chased them out, quoting Isaiah 56 and saying, "My house shall be called a house of prayer." But these money changers and vendors had turned it into a den of robbers. Jesus reveals just how far the religious leaders had strayed from the truth, and by cleansing the temple shows that he ultimately is the Messiah they were waiting on. This event caused common people to rejoice. Perhaps they had grown tired of the oppressive practices there in the temple court. But it also angered the religious leaders. The chief priests and scribes had made their living taking advantage of the poor and the foreigner, and Jesus had disrupted their business. If we take these two events together, we begin to get a picture of Jesus' point. The religious leaders of the day had forgotten the point of their existence. Like the fig tree Jesus encountered along the road, the chief priests and scribes were bearing no fruit for God. They had exchanged the goodness of serving God for the greed of serving only themselves, and Jesus just was not having it. As Jesus prepares to die for our sins and rise from the grave, defeating sin and death, so we might find life in him and not the religious or irreligious things of the world.